Mr. President, over the weekend, Indiana lost a giant in Richard G. Lugar. Senator Lugar spent 36 years as a member of this body, and I rise today to celebrate his life, which made the world a better, safer place to live. I had the pleasure in the early 2000s to work on Senator Lugar's staff, and I had a front row seat to history, watching a true statesman at work. He stood by me as I took my oath right here in this chamber. I'll never forget his support of me and of so many others throughout the years. Senator Lugar's reserved and quiet demeanor sometimes might have led people to believe he was something less than competitive. In truth, he was one of the most competitive people I've ever encountered. Senator Lugar was a runner, and his office competed every year in the Capitol Challenge, the competitive race between legislative staffs. And Senator Lugar had a member of his staff actually track everyone's time and their improvement, or lack thereof, from year to year. I think that spreadsheet still exists somewhere today. When I was in the process of going through the hiring process to be a legislative assistant in the senator's office, I went through the normal series of questions: my academic background, my professional experiences, my policy knowledge, my interest in working in the office. But at the very end of the interview, the senator asked me a pointed question. He led into the question indicating that he saw listed some hobbies on my resume, and one of those hobbies was running. And so he asked me pointedly, "How fast can you run 3 miles?" I quickly told him I thought I could break 18 minutes. A half hour later, I get a phone call that said I was hired. Looking back, I'm not so sure it was because of my policy chops. I learned a lot working for this man. I fondly remember his penchant for ice cream and the stacks and stacks of books in his office. And I believe he read every one. Senator Lugar would from time to time invite staff members or interns to run with him on the mall. There was only one rule: never ever run in front of the senator. He was, after all, a leader. A Rhodes Scholar, a Navy veteran, mayor of Indianapolis, where he spurred economic growth that is still spoken of today by consolidating the city and county governments into Unigov. As a United States Senator, he led on food security, energy independence, and free trade. And at a time when nuclear proliferation was regarded as civilization's greatest threat, Senator Lugar helped save the world. The Nunn-Lugar Act, for which he is most well known, has led to the securing and destruction of thousands of weapons of mass destruction and delivery devices. Dick Lugar was a very shrewd politician until his last days. His instincts were very good. I know this from personal experience. In fact, last year, he and I did a forum together at Indiana University. Present up on the panel were a former World Food Prize winner, the leader of an international NGO, Senator Lugar, and myself. And after presentations were done and some questions were asked by the moderator, questions were opened up to the audience. And some particularly difficult questions were tendered initially. And whenever one of these questions was asked, Senator Lugar would put on that trademark smile of his. And everyone back home knows what I'm talking about. And he'd just look over at me and let the junior senator from Indiana field that question. And after about 3 or 4 times, I decided it was his turn. So I tried to use his method right back at him. He simply smiled back at me until I couldn't stand the silence anymore. I was the first to break. The man still had the gift. The entire audience laughed. He is not to be underestimated. He was not to be underestimated as a boss and the impact he could have on a young, idealistic staffer looking for role models in public life. He's not to be underestimated as a mentor who understood that the most important thing a leader can do is to simply set a good example. Comport yourself in a way that others might want to model. He's not to be underestimated as a human being. Richard Lugar had a heart. He ran for office not to be somebody, but to do things, important things, to improve the lives of hundreds of millions, in the end, of billions of people around the world. Dick Lugar was the gold standard. He leaves a legacy as an exemplar of wisdom, civility, and bipartisanship, always staying true to his temperament. He was a quiet man, a dignified statesman. He thought before he spoke. He emphasized substance over personality. In short, he set the bar for public leaders, and he set it high. I'd go further and say he set the bar high for leaders more generally. We should all look to Dick Lugar. We should all learn from his example. I'm not sure we'll ever see another Richard Lugar. I sure pray we do. May God watch over him and his family during this difficult time. Mr. President, I yield back.